There are conflicting reports about Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders' progress and development in the Browns' offense so far, some of which say Shedeur Sanders had a bigger learning curve than Dillon Gabriel. Hmm. Join me on this show as I dive into these conflicting reports, discuss Michael Irvin's comments on Coach Prime's health, and in the second half of the show, contributor for College Football Talk Daily, Sonny Martinez, joins the show to talk all things college football news and more. Folks, I'll see you guys on the other side. It's going to be a great show. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live.
Bailey Price Media. I like it.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live. Today, I got a very special show for you. Got to break down a lot of conflicting reports about Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders' progression and development in the Browns offense here. I've seen a lot of different reports, good and bad, about Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. I kind of just wanted to break it down and kind of analyze it here as we get closer to the season. Also, in the second half of the show, a contributor for College Football Talk Daily, Sonny Martinez, joins the show to talk all things college football news. We're going to talk a little Tar Heels as the Tar Heels land a 2026 offensive tackle. They flipped them from Oklahoma. We're also going to talk about Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, kind of build off the conversation we had on this show yesterday. We're also going to talk Lenore Sellers in South Carolina and so much more. Folks, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. Can't thank you enough for tuning in. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat below. Definitely get to answer as many questions as we possibly can here. But we are live here on this beautiful Wednesday. And let's get into it, folks. Without further ado, I wanted to discuss this. Albert Breer talked about how Shedeur Sanders may have had a bigger learning curve than Dillon Gabriel when it comes to learning the Browns offense. Take a listen to this, and we'll get reaction after.
The Browns' handling of Shedeur till now, is that impacted by their desire to tamp down the noise around Shedeur?
No, I think it's because he had a bigger learning curve than Dillon Gabriel. That's the reality of it. I mean, Dillon Gabriel started how many games in college? Dillon Gabriel crushed his pre-draft process. Now that doesn't mean there wasn't stuff for him to learn along the way, but I mean, I wrote this back in March and April that there were teams that were sort of stunned by how little Shedeur knew, relative to what they thought, him being the son of Dion and having played for Pat Shurmur in college, so I think Shedeur, and maybe this isn't any fault of his own, but I think Shedeur had a lot more ground to cover than Dillon Gabriel did. And so because of that, it's harder to put him out there with the first team. Again, you have to be able to answer to your players in these sorts of things. That's the way I look at it, at least. And, I think, just as far as being in a position to tell your players why you're doing something, if Shedeur's behind, it's harder to give him first team reps. Can you earn those going?
Now, I wanted to break that down, kind of analyze what he's saying there. And I don't think he's necessarily wrong with what he's saying at all. I think he's getting a lot of heat from the Colorado fan base, but I don't think he's necessarily wrong, Albert Breer, what he's saying there. Dillon Gabriel played a lot of college football. So did Shedeur, but Dillon Gabriel played a lot more. I mean, I'm not going to say a lot more, but more college football than Shedeur Sanders in multiple different offenses as well. Now, the possible notion that Dillon Gabriel may be better polished coming into the NFL, I could potentially see that considering the level Dillon Gabriel played on, the amount of games Dillon Gabriel played in, the different system that Dillon Gabriel played in as well. Now, that's not any knock on Shedeur, but Shedeur also did play for his dad. He watched Colorado the last 2 years as well when he came up to Boulder. I think it's the progression of offense is a lot different than when you watch other teams, even if you watched Oregon and Dan Lanning and Dillon Gabriel play for them last season. I think it's a lot different. I think Shedeur's offense was very simple. They definitely capitalized, so to speak, on having Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Now I think that'll actually come to Shedeur Sanders' advantage when it comes to the NFL, especially playing in Cleveland. Cleveland loves to run the ball, gritty team. We know how gritty Shedeur is. We know how tough he is. We know when he gets knocked down, he gets up and responds, and he ain't afraid to respond. So I think one of the things that will play to Shedeur Sanders' advantage in Cleveland is them, not being afraid to run the ball, them having a run game. Let me know in the chat whether you agree or disagree with what Albert Breer had to say. Now, looking ahead here, talking about Cleveland Browns practices, the Ultimate Cleveland Browns radio are debating Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. They're debating why Shedeur Sanders isn't receiving first-team practice reps, and Tyvis Powell of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show had an interesting theory about this. Take a listen to this and let me know whether you agree or disagree.
That to me is the only reason why he ain't getting first team reps, because like I said, when you turn the tape on, it's clear as day. Anybody that see it is clear as day from him throwing the ball. But if it is, the only thing that could possibly be holding him back would be the playbook and how he's able to process the playbook. I wouldn't necessarily say on the field he's slow processing, because as you can see, whether he know everything or not, he still is going to the right spot with the football. And everybody is saying, well, this is a guy that's not even taking check downs. He's throwing 20 yards down the field on a dig route. So it's not the processing of all of that. He when the ball is snapped, when he on the field, he understands everything. Now, the verbiage and the terminology, I'll give you that. That could be the thing. If you go all the way back to what the Giants was talking about, that was the issue in the big Giants meeting, is that he didn't know the terminology and the verbiage that they were using. I told you when I came out, I had that exact same problem. I didn't say it the same way. My college said it a certain way. The NFL said it a different way. And I was confused of the two because I'm so used to saying it my way. So for him, that's a learning curve. The more he's around it, the more he does it, the more he says it, obviously he's going to pick up on it. But still, even with all that said, I still think he still deserved the rep with the ones.
Okay, so let's dive into that. If Shedeur is really not getting reps with the ones because of that, I'm not going to sit here and knock that. I think I think it may take a little bit longer than prime fans might want for Shedeur to really work his way up. Now, I'm not saying he can't, because I think he's ultimately going to work his way up and find his way to start in Cleveland. I just think it's going to take a little bit more time than, fans might want and fans might expect. Now, it's certainly possible. The Giants pre-draft interview and, whether Shedeur was unprepared, wearing headphones, who gives a shit? It's irrelevant at this point. Now, when it comes to learning the Browns offense, Dillon Gabriel may have been a little bit more polished, maybe a little bit more polished. They also drafted him ahead of Shedeur. They also drafted Gabriel knowing that he's a left-handed quarterback, knowing that Kevin Stefanski is going to have to adapt his offense to playing with the left-handed quarterback. There's certain things that you can't run. You can't run certain plays, certain directions because you have a lefty. The ball coming off the left-handed quarterback's hand, it's a different football. Wide receivers, it's different. It's a different football to catch coming from a left-handed quarterback. So there's also that to consider as well. Now, I think Shedeur is going to make up whatever gap that they're talking about. If he is so-called progressing slower or whatnot, it is freaking June, people. So that's why pump your brakes. And people are giving, myself and the guest I had last week, we were talking Cleveland Browns, giving us all this shit about saying pump your brakes. I mean, myself and Chris Easterling were not wrong when we broke that down. Pump your brakes with this, because I think ultimately it's going to take time, but I think Shedeur will work his way up no matter what disadvantage he has. I think first we got to watch, can he beat out Dillon Gabriel in the season? I think the Browns, if you expect to see Shedeur on the field at all, the Browns are going to not be successful, because if they get any momentum with Flacco or even Kenny Pickett or even Gabriel for that matter, I think it's going to be pretty tough for Shedeur to see the field at all, obviously. Now, I still expect Shedeur to beat out Gabriel. My timetable is week 14. We'll see. I think it's Joe Flacco's job coming out the gate, and then Shedeur will battle his way up. But let me know what your thoughts are on these conflicting reports about Shedeur Sanders' performance and development in Cleveland Browns practice, minicamp, OTAs, etc. I think everyone needs to take a deep breath, pump their brakes, and I think we know ultimately Shedeur is going to work his way up. It's just going to take time. Might be a little bit longer than you might expect. Now, one show that is really rooting for Shedeur Sanders, definitely are fans of him, as we are here, is the Pat McAfee Show. Take a look at this. Their thoughts on the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation.
You know who QB1 is going to be in Cleveland?
Who's that?
We know.
They traded for Kenny, so him.
It'll be hey, I love Dillon Gabriel. I love Pickett.
Oh,
I love Flacco.
it's gonna
Stop.
be
Shedeur.
Day one.
No, by week 8, Shedeur Sanders will be.
Judging by
I'm dialed into ESPN Cleveland, so I'm watching this. I don't know what the hell those DBs
16
are
of
doing.
18.
Yeah, I think I only saw one interception from all the quarterbacks. I don't know what
They're
Denzel
dialing it
Ward
up.
and the boys are doing over there, but
I see some balls come out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like,
Safe to say Darius Butler and the Pat McAfee are fans of Shedeur. Now, I don't blame him either. I just I think there's a lot of people in sports media who are really jumping to, hey, Shedeur should be starting week 1. Shedeur should be starting over Dillon Gabriel. I mean, I think they really overlook. I mean, because I'm not gonna sit here and say Dillon Gabriel's a bad player. I think he's definitely getting overlooked right now. I think the Sanders media, noise, so to speak, is louder than any media that is going on in sports right now. I think he's definitely going under the radar. Now, that doesn't change my opinion. I think Shedeur's still going to work his way up. Now, Dirk in the chat here says if Flacco plays, he won't last more than 2 games. Dirk, Flacco just led this team to a playoff run 2 years ago. And don't forget that. Flacco is also a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. I tend to disagree. I don't know. It's tough for me. I'm pretty confident in Flacco. And at the same time, if Shedeur is going to play, Flacco cannot be going win, lead them to a playoff game if you expect to see Shedeur play. So it's kind of an interesting slope there to debate. But I think if Flacco plays for them and they can run the ball, get some play action, it's kind of the same offense we saw 2 years ago. I think I can't imagine how they not be, somewhat successful. Shit, Flacco led them to a playoff run. Interesting, folks. Let's go ahead and move forward here. But let me know in the chat your thoughts on that. Joey B, you're hilarious. I appreciate you, man. Always got to stay nice and organized here on Bailey Price Media Live. I appreciate your support as always, brother. Let's go ahead and dive into this here. Michael Irvin discussed his visit with Coach Prime and gave an update on Coach Prime's health here. Take a listen to this.
We had so much fun. Whenever I'm with them, we laugh like I don't know what. I don't think there's a person in the world that makes me laugh like Dion. When I got to Dion, he was talking like this. And it felt, this is my boy. This is my boy. I battled with this dude, man. I know how strong this dude is. I know how he is. I mean, I'm not talking about physically strong. He's physically strong, mentally strong, emotionally strong. He's strong. He's strong. And we've had battles, and I respect him as a giant. I've never seen Dion not want to battle. The last thing he said to me was, Michael, man, look how I'm talking, man. Because he was sounding like this. I swear my hand. I swear before God, he said, man, see what I told you, dude? I'm getting goosebumps. I just love that dude, man. I really do. I love him. I guarantee you he's going to be okay. That's the most important part.
Man, prayers up to Coach Prime. Colorado's began summer workouts. Prime's still, rehabbing, getting and recovering down in Texas. All the prayers up to Coach Prime, whatever he's dealing with. We saw the Asante Samuel interview. We know he's battling something. He's, come out and talked about it. And Bucky said he's staying with them. Man, prayers up to Coach Prime. Definitely it's definitely concerning to say the least. Now, all my prayers go to Coach Prime. Want nothing but the best for your health and, for you to get back to Boulder. Massive season ahead for the Buffs here. And I know everybody's rooting for you and praying for you. Man, interesting to hear from Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin says, he will be okay. So, keep your prayers up for Coach Prime. We're getting closer to the season. But Colorado fans, speaking of Colorado here, before we move on here and our special guest joins the show, I wanted to break down a projected Big 12 wins ranking from Kelly Ford rankings here. And it has Colorado here projected at around 6 games this season. It's got Kansas State at the top. Interesting. Texas Tech up there as well with Arizona State. And then you got Kalani Sitake and BYU. Utah up there. Let me know in the chat what your thoughts of this are here. Just looking on it on first glance here. Having West Virginia at the bottom is interesting. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be one of those teams is going to drop down. I don't know who. Yeah, UCF at 6.5 wins with a new coach. Interesting. Got Houston and Willie Fritz, who I think is going to be better, kind of towards the bottom. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy towards the bottom as well. CU 6 wins. I expect like Dirk says, take the over with Colorado because I think Colorado definitely get their win total. Every fan that I've talked to thinks Colorado is going to be horrible. I'm on the contrary. I think Colorado is going to surprise some people again. Kansas is going to be a really interesting team to watch this season. They could be a real dark horse in this conference. To me, going based on predictions, based on transfer portal rankings, Texas Tech has to be. They're certainly spending the money to try and win the conference now. I can't remember the last time I think Texas Tech had a 10-win season. I want to say it's like 2009 or something. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. If you're going to give me a predicted winner in the month of June, to me, it's Texas Tech. To me, Arizona State, I'm a big fan of Kenny Dillingham, and I really like the program he's building down there. Now, I do, in my full opinion, I think they're going to be competitive. Do I expect them to be the top of the conference again? I don't know. Dirk, do I bet on football? Absolutely, and we will be talking a lot of betting here as we get closer to the season. Lots of money to be made this season, so definitely we'll be talking some betting as we get closer to the college football and NFL season because we do talk a lot of NFL on the show as well. But yes, Dirk, definitely we'll be talking betting as we get closer to the season. And I've discussed win totals, some other betting stuff here in the off season, but we'll really dive into betting and my picks as we get closer to the season. Let me know in the chat whether you agree or disagree with this projected win total for the Big 12 here. I think looking at it, Utah is a big question mark. Got Devin Dampier as their quarterback, who we had on the Coach JB show a few weeks ago. I expect Utah to bounce back, but also I'd like to see how he looks in their offense first. Kansas, like I mentioned, is a big question mark. Texas Tech, I'm excited to see. Kansas State's going to be tough as shit as always. Always a tough matchup, especially if you go play in Manhattan. Houston and Willie Fritz, and they got I believe Wegeman, the quarterback. I expect them to be better. Oklahoma State is, again, big question mark to me. We know how Coach JB feels about Mike Gundy. West Virginia and Rich Rod, I'm excited to see how they play out. But, man, let me know in the chat whether you agree or disagree with this projected win total. I would say, at least for the Buffs fans, take the over. Before we take a commercial break here, I wanted to show this. Bucky, shout out to Bucky, shared a first look at the well-off collab with the Nike Air DT 92s. I think these are fire, Bucky. I'm just going to say it right now, I think these are fire. Bucky, if you listening, holler at me, man. These are fire, bro. But chat, let me know what you think of these. You a fan of these? You like them? I think it's pretty cool seeing Bucky get a collab here. Man, I think that's dope. Just wanted to shout out Bucky on that. And chat, let me know whether you're fans of this. Think they're ugly? I think they look pretty sweet, especially in the suede, the red suede. I know Bucky's getting after it, man. I think that's dope. Shout out to Bucky. Man, I think that's dope. Going back to this win total here, I wanted to bring this up. Going back to it. To me, if you really look at it, I think the most overhyped teams right now have to be UCF. I don't know how you have UCF ahead of Colorado, considering Colorado whipped the shit out of them last year, and now UCF got a new coach. I think that's a little bit interesting. Let me know whether you agree there. Cincinnati is a question mark to me. I don't know. Baylor, we had the voice of the Baylor Bears, John Morris, on the show here a few weeks ago. He talked about how he expects the Baylor Bears to definitely be competitive in the Big 12 in this season. So really it's speculative chat. Agree or disagree with these rankings. Let's go ahead and move forward. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the BPM Army today. Buffalo's fans, if you're listening, I'll be live with Matt McChesney now on Friday here on 0 to 60. We've been kind of off and on here. I was sick on Monday, so Matt decided to go live, but I'll be back on Friday with Matt live on 0 to 60 to talk all things Colorado Buffaloes football news and more as we get closer to the massive season ahead for the Buffaloes. One thing I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of random, but I definitely have a take on it. Trayvon Diggs told the streamer Neon that the NFL is slowly banning helmets that most players wear because they're trying to have players transition to the Guardian cap. Oh boy, take a listen to this.
Would you ever use the new helmet that they have?
Which one?
The captain.
condom?
Yeah. You never use that or no?
No, they banned my other helmet.
What helmet?
So they banned the X7, and I had another one before that. That's like an OG. They banned the helmet, so it's like they're progressing to everybody eventually wearing the condom on their head. For real.
Why do you call it that?
That's what it's called.
That's what they call it?
Yeah.
Oh boy. See, I've had the conversation on the helmet condoms with Coach JV, Matt McChesney. We've discussed this extensively at length forever. I mean, it's so ironic. We've JB kind of pushed Dr. Jesse Morris on the Guardian Cap research a little bit, and then Dr. Jesse Morris actually did some research on it and found out some revealing information on the Guardian Cap that it may not be as protective as some doctors might realize or might think. And so that's kind of my pushback to that. It's funny that the NFL is they banned Aaron Rodgers' classic helmet, the bucket helmet, after he's worn it his entire career. Now he has to wear, I think he was wearing an F7 or something, which the F7s are cool. I can understand from an old head, he wouldn't want to wear the F7. He want to wear the classic, which you've been wearing forever. Trayvon Diggs, I don't remember what helmet. I want to say he was wearing a Speed at one point, but I don't think you can wear the Rydell Speeds anymore. I don't think you can wear that. So I think maybe that's what he was talking about. But the helmet caught him. I can't stand. I couldn't stand playing with it. It's big. It's bulky. When you hit people, I couldn't stand it. So Trayvon Diggs' frustration with the helmet condom, I can definitely relate to. I kind of laughed at that a little bit, and I don't know. Chat, do you like seeing players in helmet condoms? Because I don't know how I feel about it. But, man, folks, we're going to go ahead and take a brief break. On the other side, we got a contributor for the College Football Daily, Sonny Martinez, joining the show to talk all things college football news. We're going to talk about a couple different teams around college football that I'm pretty high on. I wanted to ask him about, including Vanderbilt and Diego Pave. We're going to talk about South Carolina and Lenora Sellers. We're going to go over to the ACC, talk about Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels. No, not his 24-year-old girlfriend, but we are going to talk about the Tar Heels and so many other teams. I'm going to ask him about Lagway in Florida as well. Old School in the chat says we will not get better. We will not get no better than we were last season. I don't agree. I think Colorado last season, despite having Shedeur and Travis, I think there's a lot of open holes on the team that I think going into this season, I think could be better, meaning I expect Colorado to run the ball. I think that'll take a lot of pressure off the quarterback and the offense in general. If Colorado leans into the run game and isn't afraid to actually, have some variation in the run game, some gut, some trap, counter, different things here, a little motion, not just coming on 10 personnel, just a little variation on the offense. I think will play a big part in Colorado's offense. Now, I expect Coach Livingston and the defense to build on, the season they had last year. Become even more formidable. Obviously, Coach Sapp and Coach Pecco, who are, building up that Colorado defensive line as well. So I wouldn't be so quick to jump that Colorado is going to be worse than they were last season. I tend to push back against that notion. We'll see, though. Let me know whether you agree or disagree. Buffalo fans, I think definitely agree with that. But a lot of people who kind of are on the outside, kind of watching Colorado, but don't really follow, the inside details, will say, "Oh, they're going to be horrible." I can't tell you how many people I run into that say that, but I think those are claims that are coming from, lack of education, so to speak, as to the offseason and the players that Colorado's bringing in. But folks, we're going to take a brief break. On the other side, contributor for College Football Daily, Sonny Martinez, joins the show. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the BPM Army today. I can't thank you enough for joining. Check out Rodney Anderson here talking about Cal transfer running back Jaden Ott and how he'll impact the Oklahoma offense. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Peace. Oklahoma signs Cal transfer running back Jaden Ott. I think a huge signing in the transfer portal. Ott joins that running back room at OU with the Littleton, Colorado product, Gavin Sawchuk. You guys got, what's his name, Taylor Tatum, Javante Barnes, and several others well in that running back room. Discuss the impact of this signing, Rodney. What are your thoughts on this signing? I think a huge addition for Ben Arbuckle, Venables, and the OU offense here. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, it was a stacked running back room already. I think it's been a little bit tough to see what the room, what their potential actually is, just because we've been struggling to try to find our offensive identity. And it's tough for running back to really settle in, especially when you got a group of them that are so talented. And Gavin Sawchuk, Javonte Barnes, Taylor Tatum's been getting some burn. You know, he's a dual sport athlete playing baseball for us right now.
Yep.
And Xavier Robinson too, late in the season really started to kind of prove his worth. I think he's going to be a big contributor. But I think with Jaden coming into the mix, one of my good friends, Caleb Kelly, he always says iron sharpens iron. And I feel like adding him with DeMarco Murray as their coach is only going to produce good things. I love Jaden Ott's style of running. He's a very decisive guy. He's downhill. He makes very, there's no guessing with him. There's no stutter. He knows what he wants to do. He's a home run hitter, and so he's always going to be looking for that touchdown. And he's what word am I looking for? He's dynamic too. I've seen him return kicks and be out wide. He'll get in the slot a little bit. So I'm really, really excited to see how Coach Arbuckle uses him.
Absolutely. And going to, where Ott ended up leaving, Cal has seen what we call a mass exodus, so to speak, of their running back room. 5 running backs entering the portal here within 48 hours. Rodney, before we go focus on OU a little bit, what are your thoughts on the transfer portal as a whole and kind of the structure and the way college football has changed since you were playing it now? What are your thoughts on that?
It's crazy. I have a love-hate relationship with the transfer portal. I understand it. I get it. There are guys in situations that, they go to a school to just try to prove their worth and want to jump to a better situation, or maybe they're getting buried underneath political reasons and they want to jump to another school. Like the list goes on and on as far as why anyone would hit the transfer portal. But I do believe that it's also being taken advantage of with NIL and all this other stuff that you can throw into the mix. I work in NIL right now for the Sooners with Sooner Sports Properties. And so we see it all the time. I'm very glad that we've been able to take advantage of it in a good way, I think. With Jim Nagy on the staff now, I think he's really, taking control. He knows what he's looking for. He's, been proven to, with the Senior Bowl, being director of the Senior Bowl, and then all of his NFL experience, he knows what kind of athletes he wants, what kind the Sooners want. And so Jaden Ott was a great grab for us. Transfer portal worked out in our favor in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And focusing on Ott a little bit, I wanted to ask you about him and his potential in Arbuckle's system here. Arbuckle every year, I believe, since he's been an OC, has had a back at least get 100 yards receiving. I know it's not a lot, but still. What do you expect about Ott's potential in Ben Arbuckle's system here for OU? And then you got Mateer reunited with Arbuckle as QB1. Go ahead.
I'm really excited for Coach Arbuckle. What stands out to me in all of his offenses and what I've seen thus far is that he's very good at getting the ball in playmakers' hands, meaning like he schemes up certain plays, certain systems, certain formations for players. And that's a testament to the study that he does on other teams, the scouting that he does. But it's also a testament to the connection that he has with the players on his team at any given time. I think he knows John Mateer very well. And I think part of the reason Jaden Ott gets thrown into the mix is because he knows that that's going to be a good pairing.
And we're back here on this fine Wednesday on Bailey Price Media Live. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and become a member. We got a lot more to talk about here. Got a very, very special guest about to join the show here. Contributor for College Football Talk Daily, Sonny Martinez, about to join the show here. Talk all things college football news. As we get closer to the season, we're grinding here. As we get closer to the season, when Sonny joins the show, we're going to talk about the Norris Sellers in South Carolina. You guys know how big of a fan I am of the South Carolina. I think they're going to be very, very competitive in the SEC, potentially winning the SEC. We might discuss that with him. We're also going to discuss Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia taking the internet by storm here the last few days, coming on the bussing with the boys, with the Will Compton and them. He talked all that smack about Tennessee, which I tend to think he might be able to hold the weight of that. I think Vanderbilt going to be better than people think. Also, might have taken a little shot at the Big Ten as well. We're going to discuss that with Sonny. We're also going to discuss Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels. Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels landed a class of 2026 offensive lineman, Will Conroy, flipped him from Oklahoma, who you just heard me talk about with Rodney Anderson, Oklahoma running back, great as well. But folks, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and become a member of the BPM Army. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and bring in our special guest and see if his camera is working here or not. But let's go ahead and bring in our main man, contributor for College Football Talk Daily, Sonny Martinez joins the show. Sonny, what up, man? Happy Wednesday.
What's
How you
up?
doing?
Good, man. How you doing? Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, my man. I can't thank you enough for joining here. We're getting close to the season, man. We're getting, the slow months where no sports. Just got to get over the hump, get into July and August, and football will be here, my man. But I wanted to ask you, talk about several teams that I'm pretty high on in college football, including Lenore Sellers in South Carolina, who reportedly turned down an $8 million NIL offer to transfer to a different school. I mean, he is certainly a hell of a player, certainly a freak, and certainly has a lot of potential headed into the season. What was your reaction to this? Do you see this, and what are your thoughts on Sellers in South Carolina as a whole going into this year?
Well, my first reaction is I would love to know which school this was that did this.
Yes.
Something tells me it was somewhere else within the SEC, maybe Big Ten, but I would think somewhere else within the SEC. I think Sellers is a great quarterback, but my problem with good quarterbacks is I would like to see you do it more than 1 year, which obviously he's only been starter for 1 year, so it's not fair to say he's a one-year wonder or he's not. I'd like to see a little bit more from him this year. If he can do a repeat of what he did last year. The problem with South Carolina this year, and I do agree with you, I think they're going to be very good. But as I look at their schedule, I'm struggling to find wins here. And it's not because of quality of the team. It's just because of the schedule they have. Their opener against Virginia Tech is going to be a great test to see exactly where they are within the ranks of college football. Mm-hmm. It's a game they should win, but it's going to be, I believe that's a Sunday 3:00 game, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but yeah, that's going to be Virginia Tech, you got Drones, the quarterback, back as well. That's going to be a good matchup to watch, definitely.
It's going to be great. And then they go to, I know, another one of your favorite teams, Vanderbilt. That's going to be tough. But you look at the schedule, obviously South Carolina State, that's a game they should win. Coastal Carolina is not a pushover, but they should win that.
Yep.
Where are the other, guaranteed wins where you can look at the schedule and say, all right, this is a game for sure that South Carolina has? I'm struggling to find those. And again, it's not a problem with the quality of the team. It's just that schedule is brutal.
Yeah. And my ideology when it comes to South Carolina having success is the conference. I think the SEC, especially this season, is going to do kind of what the Big 12 did last season in a way and cannibalize itself, having a lot of teams beat the hell out of each other, so to speak. I don't know which top team is going to fall. I think Tennessee is going to be one of those teams that may struggle more than people might expect just because of them losing their quarterback so late in the offseason. I think it's a tough blow. Now, Josh Heupel's system is pretty quarterback friendly, and they got the kid coming over from App State. But I think at least one of those teams that people expect in the SEC to be good. I think a couple of them are going to be worse than people expect. Now, how do you feel about the conference as a whole? Do you feel it'll cannibalize itself? Or do you think it'll be a strong, traditional strong SEC going into the season? How do you feel about it?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. I think you're going to have Georgia at the top, and I think you're going to have Texas at the top. And then from there, it's going to be, I think, just complete chaos. You're going to have Alabama, obviously, up there looking to make some runs and prove people wrong from last year, because Alabama went through such a success for so long. And I said on another show at the beginning of last season, what happens if they lose to Vanderbilt their first year? And that's exactly what happened. People were already calling for the coach to be fired. You got to give them a chance. They're going to be back. They're not going to take any of that laying down. LSU is going to have something to say about it. Vanderbilt, too. I don't think they're going to win the conference, but they're going to be a team that's really difficult to play. And a team that nobody's talking about that was really good last year that admittedly did lose a lot, Ole Miss. They're going to be a factor somehow, some way.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's a lot of question mark teams in the conference, like Florida. What's Florida going to look like with DJ Lagway? I think he's an absolute freak, but can they, build on what they had last season? I think DJ Lagway saved Billy Napier's job before really being real. I don't know. How do you feel about the Gators?
Florida is maybe my most interesting team in the SEC this year. I feel like If Lagway had started the season last year for Florida instead of the kid from Wisconsin, we would be having a much different conversation, and there would have been no hot seat for Billy Napier. That game, I was at that game where Tennessee and Florida went into overtime.
Ooh.
That game would have been completely different had it been Lagway from the beginning.
Facts, yes.
Now that he's got a year under his belt, there's a lot of good pieces to like. I think their defense is going to be really good. But Lagway is a very sneaky Heisman contender this year.
No, I mean, man, I'm thinking about what you said. If they had played him instead of, oh boy, what was it? Mertz, I believe, the other kid. Man, I mean, and I know that game you're talking about. I'm in Knoxville, so I mean, it's Tennessee fans, I think, are definitely might have gotten lucky a little bit. But let's move. We brought it up. Already talked about it a little bit. Diego Pavia and Vandy here. He's taking all kinds of shots. He went on busting with the boys, taking shots at the Big Ten, taking shots at Tennessee, which I don't know how you feel, but I think he may have a chance to back some of these claims up. I've said for a while that I think Vanderbilt might be better than Tennessee, but Sonny, how do you feel about the Vols and Diego Pavia? Do you think the Vanderbilt can become the kings of Tennessee, so to speak?
I feel like Vanderbilt needs to beat Tennessee before they can go and talk smack, because it's been quite a while. And admittedly, last year was pretty close. They did have some impressive wins last year. Beating Auburn at Auburn was a big step for that program. Obviously, beating Alabama, that can't be understated. But you also lost to Georgia State, you know?
Yeah.
So we're not there yet. You kind of did also struggle with Ball State as well. So let's not go pretend that all of a sudden you're a top-tier team in the SEC. They're a solid team, and I feel like they'd be one of those that if they were in the Big 12, we would be talking about them as a potential conference favorite. It's, again, not a problem of talent with the team. It's just everyone around them. And at Vanderbilt, that's to be expected because of the crazy high academic standards they have there, which credit to them for putting academics over football. It's kind of what college is supposed to be. It's not what it's turned into, but it's kind of what college is supposed to be. But they might not win the conference, but I could sure see them preventing someone from winning it.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're tough, to say the least. I think they're coached well as well. I think the impact, I think they're very coached very well. Diego Pavia also talked about in that Bussin' with the Boys interview how he was reportedly offered $4 to $4.5 million by another SEC school to transfer. Now, Sonny, I don't know how you feel about it, but when I heard that, the first coach and team that was ringing in my head was Hugh Freeze in Auburn, just because Diego Pavia got a history of beating Hugh Freeze, all going back to Hugh Freeze's days at Liberty, beat him there, beat him with New Mexico State going into Auburn, and then obviously last season, Vandy took out Auburn. But what was your reaction to that? Do you think it was Auburn? Do you think it was another SEC school trying to get Diego Pavia? $4.5 million is a lot of money, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So I don't remember the timeline of exactly when that happened with him being offered that. But the other school that I could see doing that, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Again, good quarterback, knows the conference, has proven he can win within the conference. And what better way to stick it to your old quarterback than to give your, I don't want to say biggest rival, but in-state rival. That's got to count for something, even if it is Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
What better way to stick it to your quarterback than say, hey, we gave what you wanted for, honestly, a better version of you? I think Pavia's a better quarterback than Iamaleava.
I mean, Dave, you watched him last season, definitely. I think Nico's got a lot of development. I thought this season, if he had stayed at Tennessee, it was going to be a big step for him, because I think we saw flashes last season, but I think that he was ultimately their Achilles heel. I thought Tennessee had a national championship caliber roster, and having Nico there was just kind of just dragging them back every time. And I'm like, I think Heupel is a very quarterback-friendly system. I thought he was going to take the next step this season, but that goes all out the window now. Something I saw in the chat here, Joey B is 100% right about the Jerry Kill effect. Like I just mentioned, Vanderbilt coaching staff. Jerry Kill comes over from New Mexico State. Big impact there. Shout out to Joey B. You're 100% right about that.
One of my favorite what ifs in college football is what if Jerry Kill had stayed at Minnesota.
That's a great one. That's a great one up there as well. And shout out to Joey for bringing that up. That's a great point there as well. Sonny, I can't thank you enough for joining another team I wanted to ask you about that I'm pretty high on and have gotten all kinds of social media heat here. Have been Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, they're getting all kinds of heat because of Bill Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend, fiance, whatever the hell it is. I don't play too much into it. I don't really like. I'm excited to see the Tar Heels product on the field. From what I understand, with my sources from the Tar Heels, is it's kind of overplayed by the media. I mean, that's kind of the stock I put into it. But now, Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels have flipped to Oklahoma offensive line commit Will Conroy, class of 2026 offensive tackles, flipped to Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels. Sonny, how do you feel about Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels excluding all the 24-year-old girlfriend noise and stuff? I think they're going to be pretty damn legit. I think the ACC is wide open. I think they've been kind of going under the radar, bringing in a lot of different pieces. Having Michael Lombardi as the general manager there, I think, is definitely going to have an impact in the professional football era, I think, of college football. What are your thoughts on the Tar Heels and this pickup here?
You're definitely right about the ACC being wide open, and I'm not as high on Clemson as a lot of other people are. I think the conference is there for the taking, and maybe that plays a little bit into why Belichick was able to lure a recruit from Oklahoma. Middle of the pack SEC versus having a shot at the ACC championship, which also means college football playoff. Yep. Path of least resistance. If you're looking for that, certainly the ACC. Nothing against the conference, is what it is. Perception is reality sometimes. As for UNC as a whole, I can't see this Belichick situation ending any other way than disaster.
Really?
It's so hard to ignore all of the drama and everything else going on with it. I just there's too many outside factors. He's a great NFL coach. I'm a Bills fan, Bills Mafia for life, so I know how good of a football coach Bill Belichick is. But coaching in college is a completely different game.
Yeah.
And that's nothing on his coaching ability. Just like we saw Nick Saban went to the NFL and wasn't great. Just like we saw Steve Spurrier go to the NFL, wasn't great. Now you have an NFL guy coming down, which we've seen before, Herm Edwards. Didn't end well. Is Belichick at his age going to want to go on the road, recruit, do all the things that college football coaches have to do? I'm not totally convinced of that. I feel like he's going to get a lot of recruits right off the bat from his name, and then things are just going to fall apart from there.
Wow. Okay. That's a different take that I haven't heard people have. Now, let me put it to you this way. I think with the new era of college football, from what I understand going on in that building, it is professional football. They're just straight up bringing guys in. It's not really recruiting. They're just plucking guys in, bringing in, and it is like professional football, and that's kind of how they wanted it. I think I hear where you're coming from with the noise of Belichick and not having success. I just don't think it's college football anymore. I think it's professional football, and the way they're approaching it, I think they're slated for success. Now, I hear all your points of Belichick and the noise. You brought up some great examples of that as well. I'm confident in it, and I just kind of see it be a disaster before I sit here and say that. I would think I just like the way they approach the new era of college football. I know they're bringing in a lot of people, and I think all the noise with the girlfriend's kind of bullshit. I don't think people have actually because every time I look, I cover the Colorado Buffaloes. Every single key recruit, at least at the linebacker position, seem to go to the Tar Heels. They've really been effective in the recruiting game, especially in the portal. I think they brought in almost 50 or 60 different kids. They're overhauling that team. So I don't know. I think Chap Hill's going to be, if anything, something to watch headed into the season.
And that recruiting kind of surprises me, though, because look at it from this perspective also. If you're an 18, 19-year-old kid getting ready to go to college and you hear all the noise about Belichick, you hear about his girlfriend, and the age is a factor, too. I'm sorry, in college football it is. Yeah. Although I guess with the transfer portal, it's easier than ever to just up and leave, but whatever. Mm-hmm. Are you really going to want to go and play with a coach that, can't seem to get out of his own way in the offseason, whether it's by his choice or not? Mm-hmm. And the age is a factor. How long is he going to want to do this? Or would you rather go to a more stable program where maybe, you're going to have to work harder for success? A program like Minnesota. Like, as a college kid, PJ Fleck is one of the most underrated coaches in college football. Elite. I wouldn't say he's an elite coach, but that's one of his things.
Yeah, that's his thing.
But just the atmosphere and what you're going to get, I feel like that kind of setting would be more attractive than North Carolina, who could be viewed as a sideshow. That sounds harsh, and I don't mean it in the way that I say it.
I
but
hear
that's
you.
how it comes across sometimes.
No, you definitely got a point. And there's I never expected with Bill Belichick going and being hired there, I never expected this to turn into the media frenzy it has from the perspective of his girlfriend. I expected it to be like hey, you got one of the greatest coaches of all time coming in here and leaving his mark in college football, a new era of college football to where it's not really college football. It's really like, it's really kind of professional football. You got a general manager they bring in who him and Bill are like that. I like the coaching staff they brought in. Speaking of this kid who played for IMG Academy, one coach that's on the staff here is Billy Miller, who used to be the head coach at IMG Academy. Something to think about there. I thought this was a smart move. Obviously, you get one of Billy Miller's former kids now, and Will Conroy. I expect that pipeline from IMG Academy to Chapel Hill to be pretty smooth here, and having Billy Miller, I think, is definitely helping.
So when I saw that, my first thought was, are they lining up Billy Miller to be the next head coach when Belichick eventually leaves by choice?
Oh, I didn't think of that either.
Again, the recruiting pipeline is there. If he proves he can coach. And I want to throw one other thing out there about the whole Belichick situation with his girlfriend, because that keeps getting brought up. And I was crushed by someone on Twitter for saying, oh, you just hate that a woman's involved in it. No, that has nothing to do with it. Miss Terry was a significant figure at Alabama football. Yes. The difference was she wasn't handling Nick Saban's emails. She was there. She was supporting, doing whatever. It doesn't matter. A spouse like that shouldn't be involved like that. It should be up to the coach. The coach's thing, doing whatever they do. That's that.
That's an interesting point. And now when really the Jordan Hudson news really started taking fruition, I talked about it with Super Bowl champion quarterback Sean King, played at Tulane, played for the Buccaneers early 2000s, and he gave a perspective that I didn't really think about. Could it be a smart thing just from the perspective of, is Bill really going to be handling emails at his age? Is Bill really going to be tapped into the social media aspect at his age? Has having that aspect play to his favor at North Carolina? Play to his favor in recruiting at all? That was in January. That was in January. So we're 6 months removed from that. I think looking back on it now with the media frenzy, I don't know if it's really playing in their favor, but that was an angle we had in January. Do you pay any homage to that or no?
Yeah, the social media aspect, yes. At his age, he certainly should have somebody else handle it. When it comes to emails, school emails, recruiting, that kind of stuff, like that should be up to him. And I get it, his age, but he knew his age going in when he signed the contract. If you're not invested in doing all of that, then why take the job?
No doubt.
If you're a coach that's not interested in recruiting, what success do you plan on having? Look at what happened to Tim Brewer at Minnesota. He had no interest in recruiting, and that program got ran into the ground.
Yeah, you got a great point. Now, Sonny, I got one final question for you, and I can't thank you enough for joining here on this fine Wednesday. I was breaking this down earlier, and I was breaking down a projected wins graphic for the Big 12. I wanted to ask you about the Big 12 as a whole. Last season, kind of saw the conference cannibalize itself, so to speak, kind of saw some new faces emerge to the top that I don't think we really expected. Obviously, in Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham, really surprising people. Oklahoma State was projected to be the top, and they looked horrific last season. Big 12 is kind of a big question mark this season. Colorado's a big question mark. I'm high on them, just me covering them. I know the type of players they brought in. I'm pretty high on them. I think a lot of people are not very high on them, thinking they're going to be horrible. How do you feel about the Big 12 as a whole? What teams stick out to you? Go ahead.
So certainly seeing Oklahoma State down at the bottom is jarring, even knowing their results from last year. That's just not a sight you're used to seeing, especially in the Mike Gundy era.
Yeah, sure.
The team that sticks out to me that I've kind of been on for a while is Texas Tech. I feel like the Big 12, it's only a matter of time before it runs through Lubbock. And I think this is the season that it starts. They have a lot of good pieces in there. The defense is going to be much improved.
Yeah.
Kansas State is going to be a good team, but I'm just not sold on them. Arizona State, losing Cam Scatterbo, I think, is a lot bigger blow than people think.
Agree.
Sam Levitt's a great quarterback, but, man, losing that run game that you could depend on, which they did, especially in the game against Texas.
Yeah,
they really depended on him a lot, and he came through every single time. So how can they overcome that? And then if you want a sleeper pick from the middle, people forgot about Kansas.
Yeah,
Kansas was sneaky good last year. If you look at the last half of the year when Jalen Daniels was healthy, they were a really, really good football team.
Yeah.
So if he can stay healthy, I wouldn't be shocked to see Kansas Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. I don't think that's going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me to see.
No doubt. And Kansas had a rough start to their year last year. I thought they were going to be one of the best teams in the conference. I'm a big fan of Leipold, coach over there, and rough start. Kind of figured it out towards the end. Kind of spoiled Colorado's season last season as well in Arrowhead. Now, to me, they're going to be one of the teams to watch in the Big 12. This graphic having UCF, I don't know. I think UCF is way over. I don't know how they have them ahead of Colorado, considering they have a new coach. Colorado beat the hell out of them last year. I don't know. That's interesting. Utah is going to be a team to watch. They got a new quarterback coming over from New Mexico named Devin Dampier, who I think is a great kid. Now I'm interested to see how he fares in Utah's offense. Arizona State. I think you made a great point with the run game. I expect them to take a step back, still be formidable, but I think the loss of Cam Scatterbo, like you mentioned, definitely going to have an impact on their season. Kansas State going to be tough, always tough to play them, especially going to Manhattan. Avery Johnson, I think, is a great player. I think they run the football great, got a great tough offensive line, great coach over there. But I think, to me, I said this earlier. I think it's Texas Tech's conference to lose, in my opinion. I think they've. I agree. They're top 5 in spending. They got a top 5 transfer portal class. Joey McGuire, I know they're all in on trying to take that next step. I can't remember the last 10-win season they've had at Texas Tech and Lubbock. I think it was 2009, I want to say off the top of my head. I think it's been a while since they've had a 10-win season.
Yep.
Interesting. How do you feel with the Buffaloes? Colorado, moving on from Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. They got Kadon Salter, presumably starting, 4-year starter coming over from Liberty. Got Juju Lewis, the 5-star kid, behind him as well. Several new coaches. Marshall Faulk, Hall of Famer, running back coach. How do you feel about the Buffaloes?
Salter's a big addition, and don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like Colorado is the Vanderbilt of the Big 12 this year, meaning I don't think they're going to win the conference, but they could keep a team like Arizona State out, go on the road and upset one of the top 4 teams on this list. I think they're going to be okay. 6 wins feels just about right for them. I think it's going to be a building season for them. They still need to work on recruiting a little bit better. It's tough when you rely on the transfer portal as much as Deion has. Yeah. But this is a season where if they can get to that 6-7 win mark, it should be considered a success, because that'll show, hey, we're close, we're getting there, we're making a step in the right direction. If they fall back, if they go 4-8 again, like they did in Deion's first year, there's going to be a lot of talk of, is this real or is this just the money grab that we originally all thought that it might be? Flip side to that, what happens if they win 10 games? If they're in college football playoff contention come November, think about it. Nobody had Arizona State winning the conference last year. Nobody had Arizona State going and almost eliminating an SEC team in the college football playoff. That's true. What happens if Colorado does that? That would be huge for them, be huge for business, recruiting. So this is a very pivotal season. And I think it matters more long-term for them than it does in the immediate future.
Oh, absolutely, because they did come out and have a rough season this year. You know how that media train is. I mean, I can tell you covering them. Any sort of negative thing that happens and everybody's upset. I mean, Colorado fans, I love you. You guys are the most sensitive fan base in football. That's facts. So it is what it is. Now,
which is weird because they weren't 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So what's changed in that time?
It's the new fans. It's the new fans. So they've come over, from not Boulder. They're all from everywhere. Not in Colorado. I
would also like to throw one other thing out there about Colorado too. Keep an eye on one game in particular for them. Saturday, September 6th, Delaware goes to Colorado. A new program to the FBS. Going to be looking to make a name. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but don't be shocked if it does.
Wow, Delaware. Yeah, what conference are they? I saw they moved up to FBS. Where are they playing in?
Delaware's going to be in Conference USA this year. Okay. They were 9-2 last year. They had one of the top defenses in the FCS last year. They're going to be improved on offense. There's a lot to like with Delaware, and I'm telling you, it might be a national statement for Delaware this year.
I mean, every Colorado game is on national TV. If Delaware does anything, everybody's going to be talking about that. To me, Colorado's key is, will they run the ball? Will they lean into running the ball? Because I think if they did that last season, how much better that team would have been. I think it would have taken a lot of pressure off Shedeur Sanders. Now, I think the offensive line definitely questionable last season. So, I mean, you can make every excuse as to why Colorado didn't run the ball. You got Shedeur and Travis, whatever. But I think going into this season, you have to run the ball, especially with Kadon Salter, quarterback, a running quarterback like that. You got Marshall Falk as your running back coach and run game coordinator. You got Andre Gerard, who played at Colorado, played in the NFL for the Cowboys as their offensive line coach with George Hageman, who also played in the offensive lineman in the NFL. You got to run the ball here. And if that's, to me, that is the key to Colorado's season. If Colorado leans into the run game, leans into running the ball, I think they can be in for a successful season, definitely above 6 wins. If they don't run the ball and they do the same shit they did last year, they're screwed. I don't
think they will, and here's why. You already said why. Shedeur Sanders. Deion's son at quarterback, he's going to try to get them those throws, those yards to validate that jersey retirement that, I'm sorry, he didn't deserve. So he's going to try to get his son a little bit more, keep him happy. We already seen the stuff he's pulling in the NFL with, my kid won't play here, he'll play here, all that. It ultimately cost him in the draft. But I equate it to like when you're playing NCAA 25 and you're trying to get your quarterback the Heisman. So you throw, 3 or 4 times extra in a game where you should really run and it ends up costing you a little bit. I feel like that was kind of the situation last year. I feel like with Sanders not there anymore, I'm sorry, the nepotism existed. And if you don't believe me, look at the jersey retirement. Travis Hunter, 100% deserved it. Shedeur Sanders, no. Are you going to sit there and honestly tell me that Sanders deserved to have his jersey retired over Rashaan Salam?
Oh, no.
Was it College Football Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy winner?
Or Deion Figures, or we can go on and on. We can go Darian Hagan, and Sonny. We had Matt McChesney, who I do a show with. He played at Colorado. We had Chad Brown on. We debated this jersey retirement thing for months. Yeah, you definitely agree with you on that point that they may have jumped the gun when it comes to Shedeur. Travis, undoubtedly, Travis is a freaking unicorn. So Travis, I don't think there's any question. But with Shedeur, I think,
You want another hot take then?
Let's hear it.
I'll get some crap for this, but whatever. Travis Hunter, obviously very good player last year. But is he really that much better than Miles Jack was at UCLA a few years ago?
Oh, see, that's a tough one. Miles Jack was Bellevue, Washington, where I grew up.
And playing running back and linebacker, he never got any consideration. But yet he was a superstar. He was productive as hell in both spots. What was the difference? He didn't have Deion as his coach. Sometimes you get that extra little spotlight. And again, I would probably take Hunter over Miles Jack. But is it really that far different?
Oh, see, that pokes at me a little bit because I grew up in Seattle. Miles Jack went to Bellevue High School, was a freaking legend doing both ways, like you just mentioned, goes to UCLA. Like that makes me laugh a little bit because I remember Miles Jack watching him as a kid, playing high school back in the state of Washington. I think Travis is head over heels better player. So I that's my pushback to the comparison. I never even thought of that though. That's a great that is a huge thought. I never even thought of that. Now I want to ask you, a big debate is, Ben, how Travis fares in the NFL. It seems like the Jaguars are all in trying to use him as use his versatility as much as possible, using him on both ways. I don't expect it to be anywhere close to 100%. I expect it, primarily probably on defense and then packages on offense. But I don't know. How do you feel about the Jaguars and how they should use Travis in the NFL?
I feel like Travis Hunter's biggest problem in the NFL isn't even anything he can control. It's the team he's on. The Jaguars and their ownership have shown the ability to screw up the easiest of decisions, the best of players on a routine basis. And it goes beyond the Jaguars. It's their soccer team, their wrestling promotion, the Khan family as a whole. They're not great with situations like that. And I feel like Hunter's going to be the next in a line of guys that we look back and we're like, man, what happened? And if he can get out of Jacksonville, if he can survive Jacksonville, get out of there and go somewhere where he can succeed, I feel like that's going to be where we see him. His potential on his own, I think he's got potential to be one of the greatest we've ever seen in the NFL. I really do.
He's box office.
I just worry about the situation that he's in.
Yeah, no, you got a great point, and I never even thought of it we know about Jacksonville's ownership, but I never even thought to look at the soccer team or the Red League. Man, you got a good point there. Now, it's interesting. I think he's going to do his thing at DB. My question mark is Trevor Lawrence. do you feel confident in Trevor Lawrence being Travis's quarterback, getting Travis the ball? I just that's a big question mark to me. I don't know how. Jaguars a big question mark to me with Trevor Lawrence. How do you feel about T-Law?
I like Lawrence, but again, in Jacksonville, in that situation, I'd like to see what he's going to do with Liam Cohen. I feel like that's going to help a little bit. Is this the year he finally becomes the quarterback that everybody thought he was going to be? Maybe, maybe not. But if he could take a step in the right direction. But again, how many years can we say that about him now? This is what, his 5th year in the league? Yeah. How long are we going to wait until he finally hits that?
Well, yeah, and they already paid him too, so it's like...
Yeah, it's far too late now.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's stuck with him.
Trevor Lawrence or Brock Purdy? Who do you have on a higher scale? I would say Brock, even though I don't think the 49ers should have paid him because I think it sets them as an organization back. But, I mean, if you watch the two... I don't know. Who would you take?
Am I buying the player or is a team as a whole?
Oh, fuck. Just player. Let's go player. Let's go player.
If I'm buying the player, I'm probably going to go with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Now, 49ers, I think, screwed themselves by paying Purdy now. Travis and Trevor in Jacksonville. I don't know. We'll see if Liam Cohen can turn it around. I think they are on a ticking time clock. They got to figure it out this season, or else fans in Jacksonville are not going to be happy. And then, I mean, they paid Trevor Lawrence. So if he has a shit season this season, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They gave up a lot to go trade up and get Travis now. Oh boy!
They better hope Cohen can coach better than he can say Duval.
Facts. Sonny, my man, I can't thank you enough for joining the show on the Spy Man Wednesday. We'd love to have you back on again soon. I hope you have a great Wednesday, and I can't thank you enough for joining, man. Great insight as always, my man.
You as well. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely, man. Have a great Wednesday. Shout out to Sonny Martinez, contributor for College Football Talk Daily. Join the show. My main man giving us insight, talking all things SEC. We went over to the ACC, talked Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels. We got to also talk Travis Hunter and NFL, a little bit of NFL, also Colorado Buffaloes as well, as always. Folks, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the BPM Army today. We're going to be live here tomorrow on Bailey Price Media Live. Got a very, very special guest joining the show for you tomorrow. Actually, speaking of Jacksonville Jaguars radio host joins the show tomorrow. I'll go ahead and promote that guest tonight. You guys will see tomorrow. We're going to have a great show talking all things Jacksonville Jaguars football. Travis Hunter, they going to figure it out? I don't know. I think that division's going to be kind of a question mark. Cam Ward and the Titans, it's open for you guys as well. Are you guys going to figure it out? Are you guys going to take over? I don't know. But stay tuned for tomorrow's show at 3 p.m. Eastern here on Bailey Price Media Live, where we dive into all things Jacksonville Jaguars news and college football news, NFL news, and more. If you're watching, hit that like button, subscribe, become a member. Can't thank you enough for tuning in. I appreciate you guys watching, as always, and enjoy your Wednesday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.